What's up, Facebook Live? Get things rolling here. Sorry for the delay. We were on the phone with Coach just talking a few X's and O's things going into this week and just some stuff that about the game and this and that we wouldn't want opponents to steal. Or Willie to steal or somebody to steal for Willie's opponent in flag football. And 2 viewers already. See, we got people waiting on us.
I know, right?
I like that.
They're probably cussing us.
Yeah, they probably are.
Man, you guys are so late.
So late, 22 minutes behind. No East of the Bend podcast this week. We need a week off. That's more. There is a ton of stuff we could talk about with all the upsets, but
yes,
we definitely we need a week off. Willie's got some exam type things, but we will get some sponsors. Yeah, so late. Joe, thanks, man. I know. We'll get some sponsor stuff in. Go to Dempsey's, 346 South High Street in Columbus. Mark's treated us so well. I'll plug it on this show as well. And then our local DJ here. If you need a DJ, there's Kent Price. Get it in there. There you go. All right. You need a DJ for any event. That's one of our other cross promotions from the East of the Bend podcast. So, all right, let's get the recording started. Yeah, he did leave a sign here, and it looks as cheap on video as it does sitting over here in the corner. That's funny. Oh, man. We'll get the recording started here so we can get it uploaded later on. Oh, that's a fail. I didn't expect it to start just like that.
Jeez,
know,
amateur hour over
Man,
here.
it's been a rough weekend. Did you see Penn went down? Coach Aiello's alma mater went down to Mishawaka, their rival.
Yeah, in overtime.
First time since 2010, and then Nerd Catholic loses to Valley, and now I'm over here screwing up the intro music.
Yeah.
Can't have nice things.
I will say I did watch that walk-off Antonio Brown touchdown.
Bengals fans are crying.
Good. I think we just lost all of our viewers.
Maybe. I don't. There's a ton of freaking Steeler fans here in Ohio, though.
Yeah.
Like that's like Ohio's team more than anything, in my opinion.
Can you blame them?
You're a friend. You're a friend of mine. You're a Steeler fan. Mark's a Steeler fan. I have a ton of Steeler fan friends. All right, let's get this kicking.
You named 2 of them.
Well, you're like my 2 best friends. Jerry's a Browns fan.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I feel like the Broncos.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, I will.
What's up, high school football fans? This is the Ryan Aiello Postgame Show brought to you by East of the Bend Productions. Week 8 was not successful. That's about the nicest way to put it. Second straight shutout, 35-0 to arch rival Licking Valley. Tough game. Just never really looked like once momentum was gone and Valley scores on the first drive, it was just kind of like that was kind of a wrap from there, unfortunately. What was your kind of thoughts out after that one?
Yeah, it's the only game that I've been to of Newark Catholics where I was just like, I felt like the game was over.
After
pretty
that drive,
quick. Pretty quick,
yeah. And then, after the first one, you kind of had some hope that maybe the offense would get back on track and just have a night. But unfortunately, they score again and scored in their first 3 drives, and 21-0 at halftime. To a team of Licking Valley's caliber is just kind of honestly a death sentence, really. How they lost to Johnstown is beyond me.
Who, Licking Valley?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
They had to get outspeeded, I guess, on the edges,
yeah.
maybe. But that Wisner kid, it looked like he could throw and pass, which is not something that he's done this season. That's one of the questions we're going to talk to Coach about, because they actually, I don't want to ruin my question here, but they only threw 12 times, or 18 times in the prior 3 weeks. They threw 18 times Friday night. So, good move by Boffman, and I guess that's the reason he's a Hall of Fame coach. So we'll get Coach Aiello back on the line here. It's about the second time I've called the wrong person.
Hello.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? You're live with us here.
Hey, good. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Always
well.
Good to hear from you.
Well, man, I'm telling like we said earlier, tell our wives that.
Yeah.
I'll call yours, you call mine, and then we'll make a deal here.
I'm going to need it on my end as well.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So, Yeah, like I said, we've got to some things outside of the program, or like kind of not necessarily outside of the program, but how the football program functions in the last couple weeks. And one of the things we covered on Friday night with you for the first time was the player walk from Newark Catholic down to Whitefield. So can you give us a little bit of history of that, a little background? I know you're the first year there, but talk about that a little bit for maybe people that don't know.
Yeah. So what we do, we will walk from the high school down to Whitefield. We'll have our seniors lead it. We'll walk 2 by 2 all the way down. I tell you, I think it's pretty special. Typically what our routine is, we'll make sure the kids eat by 3:30. We will meet by about 4 o'clock, 4:20, depending on, when we're leaving and what we need to get done. We'll meet as a team. We'll go through our special teams call out. We'll briefly talk about offense, defense. We'll then proceed to chapel, which is always a very special experience. Then we'll immediately file out and get going on the walk. And I think the great thing about, number one, chapel is you just have the opportunity to reflect on what you're thankful for. I think it's just a great opportunity for each individual within our team to kind of take that time and just, think about the week's events and what's going on in their life and take a deep breath and just to be thankful for what they have, right? The opportunity to play for Newark Catholic, to be in the position that they're in. And I think that focus kind of transcends into the walk. It's not a time to talk and be buddy. It's just a time to visualize what you need to do. Again, kind of carry on being thankful for what you are and what you have going down. It's about a 16-minute walk. So, that personal reflection time, I think, is very special.
Yeah, it's definitely taken seriously because I'd actually never seen it. I'd heard of it. Like most people know, listen to this. My uncle played for the '82 title team, and I actually didn't even know till we started covering the team that they still did it. Is there ever a time that it doesn't get done? Torrential snow, downpour, or is it always done regardless?
No, it's I tell you, that was one of the questions I had. When I got into Newark Catholic, is there any situation? And no, it's always been done.
Gotcha.
Regardless of the weather, and it's pretty special. There's a lot of parents and fans, family members that take some time out of their day. They'll line up the streets in certain areas, which is pretty special. Just to see their support. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, they definitely they take it seriously. That's for sure. They're out there making some noise. That's very cool. It's it's something unique that you see that kind of stuff in college, but I think in high school it's just kind of load the bus up, get off the bus, go into the stadium. Yeah. So it's really cool. So we'll get into the game here. Unfortunately, it was a rough one, as we said before we called you back.
Yes,
Valley got to a lot of chunk yardage on Saturday night or Friday night, which is not something that you guys had given up, and also not really giving up the big play. And that's what they scored on their first drive. First question it being, where was the breakdown on that first score? Because he was completely wide open. And second question, do you feel like that touchdown kind of set the tone for the entire game after that?
Yeah, and I guess I'll step back one more time. Even from that question, I think a big thing, really looking at the past 2 weeks, the past 2 weeks have just not met any of the expectations that we have set out for our kids. Obviously we want to go into the game expecting to win every single game and going out there and competing. And I think the big thing that we really have taken away from a coaching staff and something that we need to work on is the importance of the mental aspect of the game. Just truly believing that you can win, having the expectation to win. I think those are two different things in themselves, but in either case, it's a mental aspect that we've really got to focus on. I think we've kind of lacked that, and then having the mental, discipline and the mental toughness and the expectations within each individual to win those one-on-one battles at any given moment throughout the course of the game consistently, right? I think that's one aspect that we've really got to focus on and emphasize as coaches to these kids. I think we've lacked that, because we haven't been winning those one-on-one battles that are required to win football games. So I apologize for going off on that, but it's something we definitely need to emphasize from a coaching standpoint to these kids and get them to understand how important that is. And it's something we talked about as well after the game. It's you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in one another. You got to believe you can win. And, then we got to go to work. The winning is not easy. I know that's something that we have talked about. Winning is not easy. You have to work hard in order to win. And I told the kids, I didn't have a lot of words for them, other than the only thing I know to do to get back on track is to work harder. And that's it. So again, apologize for getting away from your question, but the big thing for us, in that first drive and some of those big plays, there were some big passes that they had on us, and we were going to put, we wanted to make it a point to load the box. We knew that we were going to put some of our corners in isolated situations. And they capitalized on those opportunities. There was a couple pass plays. There was one against Tyson Mummy, which I tell you what, being a young sophomore corner, he does some great things. He got caught in space, and those are some teaching moments for us, right? They got us on a slant and bubble routine. You know what I mean? We didn't get our star linebacker, Mikey, out for width. He drove it as opposed to getting out for width, and we didn't get over the top on that slant. Those are a couple touchdowns. I don't want to just emphasize in one drive. So those are some mental things that we've got to clean up, some technique things that we got to clean up as well.
You just spoke to Valley scoring on their first drive. They ended up scoring on their next two drives. And then after that, you guys stopped them on their final two drives of the first half. Did you guys make any adjustments, or was it, as you just said, was it just a matter of people all being on the same page and making their right reads?
Yeah, it was. It was just understanding what we did wrong and how to correct it. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, going out into the second half. It was simply a matter of getting our proper reads. We had a lot of, again, missed tackles, that were happening and sitting there and waiting. I think as we reflected on film that Saturday morning, we actually had guys in the right positions. A lot of the times we just weren't aggressive in attacking it. We were waiting to make the play. We were waiting for the play to come to us. And I know specifically from a defensive standpoint, you can't do that. And that's where that mental aspect really kicks in, believing that you can do it, believing that you can accomplish this. If you reflect on the first half of the season to the second half of the season, our mental discipline has shifted. Our focus has shifted. And we've got to get that back. We had it in the beginning, although the outcome had not been, what we wanted. We were playing more disciplined football. We had a little bit better belief system. And again, being a 2-6 football team, doesn't help. And that's why we as coaches, we got to get these kids to understand, 1 week at a time and the importance that each week has.
Mm-hmm. Coach, the offense, unfortunately, still looking for that identity, in week 8. Going into these last 2 weeks, are there any new wrinkles that you look to implement, or is this just going to be kind of, building some consistency, building efficiency, and just doing what you do better?
Yeah, everything that you said is spot on. Again, specifically the running game. We have to get a running game going. That's probably the number one priority there is to get something in the run game. You can't just sit back there and pass. You can't do it. I don't care what program, doesn't matter. You have to have the threat of a run. And right now we don't have that going, and we've got to continue to work on it. And that goes back to what I was speaking about earlier. We have to work harder in our efforts to establish that run through practice.
So, Coach, when I get to the stadium and I'm getting my gear set up and the kids start to come out to warm up, I constantly am looking at jersey numbers so I can associate who's out there, who's not. And one big one I saw, I didn't see number 62. I saw number 35. Mm-hmm. Was there a reason why you guys decided to move Connor back to tight end?
Yeah, I tell you, it's been great having Trey Tigner back. Now that he's been healthy and back into the rotation, wanted to get him in. We got a couple juniors, Tyler Clark and Green. I tell you that they are, two young men that are coming up on the offensive line that I think are going to do a pretty good job for us moving forward. And so to get those kids experience and get Trey back healthy is always a good thing. And that allowed us to get Connor, back to the tight end position. That adds another blocker in there. We can move him around being at a tight end position. You saw us do some U-Rock stuff and some shift stuff to try to add an extra gap into our run game. We did that on purpose. And again, because we've got some guys healthy on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things we noticed with the offense, honestly, 2 straight shutouts, it's hard for, somebody that doesn't know the game quite so well or just watches it from a standpoint of, this is the final score. It's hard for those kind of people to find positives. But one of the things me and Will and my third guy with us, Mark Hissam, on Friday, we noticed was Lucas was getting the ball out a lot quicker, we seemed to be. And he was actually getting the ball out before guys were getting out of their breaks. Is that something that's been kind of a point of emphasis for you guys? And something that you also look at as a positive moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we do want to get the ball out quicker, because of the lack of success that we've had, in the run game and some pass protection issues. We have to get the ball out quicker, So again, our wide receivers are, doing a good job of getting out of their breaks, executing their route combinations. We're doing some different things in pass protection to help that. And again, at times, and we talked about this last week, at times we had some great pass protection out there. Again, I know the score doesn't reflect that, but there were a couple times where we can build off of that. Those are things that we've got to harp on to see, hey, this is what happens when all 11 guys are doing their job. It was a beautiful sight. It just goes back to all of those 11 guys, nobody in particular, but doing it consistently throughout the course of the entire game.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing between a casual fan or somebody who just looks at the final standings and a coach or somebody who actually understands the game, where you're seeing, you might not score a point, but you're seeing the little positive things that you're doing, and you can focus on those and get them, talk to the kids about it.
Definitely. We are. Believe me, I'll be the first one to say it's unacceptable at where we're at. We're not meeting the expectations that I had hoped for us. That's for sure. But we've got to identify where we're at and take advantage of the opportunities that we still have left in the season. And again, as you just mentioned, we got to build off of those small things. As small as they are, we need to build off of those.
Well, it seems like you guys are doing something right, because Grant Meyers is he's second in the county in receiving yards. What kind of impact has he had for your offense?
Oh, it's been huge. He's done a great job. And again, you do have to give credit to the other wide receivers doing their job and running their proper route concepts. Again, when the offensive line is able to do things correctly and our running backs are able to block and our quarterback's able to deliver a good ball, those are the results. And he was able to get open due to his discipline and his route running right there. But when we've got all 11 guys clicking, he's able to have some opportunities. Lucas is able to make some great throws.
Yeah, Coach, going on the other side of the ball here with, you mentioned your guys throwing, but Valley threw the ball 18 times Friday night. And in the previous 3 games, I don't know if you knew this or if I'm just this much of a football degenerate here, but they threw 18 times combined in the prior 3 games. Was that not only an adjustment for you, but also your secondary and your coaching staff? Was that an adjustment for them as well?
Well, we had a feeling that could happen. We really made it a point to load the box to try to take away that run. We really respected their offensive line, their quarterback running the ball, and their running backs running the ball. So we knew that we might be putting our corners on some islands, and we knew that if that happened, we would have to make some adjustments from there. In which case, we did tweak some coverages there. Later in the second quarter, got into a little bit more of our, I guess, what we call a cover 2 coverage. It's a little bit different than that, but that helped us out quite a bit. You saw that towards the end of the second half. But, we made some subtle adjustments, but we knew there was a possibility that they were going to open up that passing game due to how we were minded to some of their formations to stop the run.
So Greg and I were talking about this, and I know we've talked about it a little bit on the show with Matt Carlisle going down earlier this season. How much of an impact has that had? Because you had to take Lucas and move him to quarterback. So then you're losing your starting quarterback, and then you're losing your which I'm assuming is your number one wide receiver. How big of an impact has that had on your guys' offense?
Yeah, I mean, to move kids' positions, at all, I think is tough. We've got, Lucas is one of.
Did we just lose Coach?
I think we just lost Coach.
Yep, let's call him back here. Well, how about that? No,
or he hit mute.
Did you hit mute, Coach? I think you might have muted us. He's like, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
He's like, I'm going to answer this question without talking to you. Well, until we get Coach back on the line, maybe just hang up and call him back.
Yeah, I will.
In my opinion, that's tough. I know you and I talked about it.
Losing one injury, two positions.
Yeah, it hurts your quarterback and then and wide receiver, and I wonder if Grant would have more.
Hi, this is Ryan.
Everybody knows what his voicemail says.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. I wonder if Grant would have more yardage.
Yeah.
With
take a little pressure off him, because now people are going to look at that. I mean, if I'm looking at it to do this show, I know other schools are going to look at, hey, who's their leading receiver? So they're going to box him up because there's no other names for North Catholic in that top 10 or whatever they give out.
Yeah, because then you have Sam. Sam's got to step up now, and it puts more pressure on everybody else. So especially when you lose somebody in high school, at 6'3", at wide receiver, he's just bigger. He's just bigger than everybody.
We may have just killed his phone potentially.
Maybe.
Hi, this is Ryan.
I wonder if, no, his battery would have died.
Yeah, his battery would have died. I'm sure he'll call us back. That or he's like, I'm done with you guys.
Yeah, he's like, that's it.
That's it. I'm going to go get some more Sonic, and there he is. Hey, Coach, sorry we lost you there.
Yeah, no, guys, I think that was my fault. I'm not sure why my phone shut down there. I apologize.
That's pretty good, though.
We just figured that we got fired.
Yeah, that was it.
And that was it.
That was like Remember in The Sopranos when it just ended?
It just ended.
Yeah, there was no goodbyes. There was no nothing. It just ended. Yeah. So we were just kind of getting to that point about the injuries, and kind of what Will was getting at there. You lose, one injury, you lose kind of two positions per se.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I'm sorry I got cut off
there.
You're fine. Injuries, it's an unfortunate part of the game. It is, and you go make you look at a kid like Mason, you know what I mean? Lore, a senior that really lost the rest of the season. Those are guys that just my heart breaks for him, because he's never going to get that opportunity to finish off his season. But obviously he's tremendous impact for us from a leadership standpoint. But again, it's an unfortunate part of the game. But as a coach, you've got to get the kids past it and move on, because nobody's gonna wait around. The expectations are still at their highest for us. No matter what happens from an injury standpoint, the expectation is to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Coach, on the I hate to ask you a question about the team you played at. This is your show and North Catholic show, but you're a defensive minded guy. You agreed? Well, I think we figured that out about you when we had you on there in the coach's spotlight.
I think when he said I played safety.
Yeah, at Ball State. I played for Brady Hoke. Oh yeah. Who inspires you, Brady Hoke? Oh yeah, you're a defensive guy.
Yeah.
But so that's the reason I want to ask this question, is because Licking Valley, they've only given up 10 or more points twice this year. And one of those games was against Johnstown where they did give up 10, and that was it. And I think they're averaging like 9 points a game that they're giving up. Since Sheridan, the week one, they've only given up like 5.5 points a game. What is it? So it's not just what happened Friday night. What are they doing on defense that makes them so good in your eyes?
I mean, this is going to sound pretty simple, but they do the little things right. They are fundamentally sound. They are very physical. They're sound tackling, and they pursue extremely well. And they don't let guys get behind them. And they do the little things right. And, again, we knew we were going to have our hands full going into this game, and we knew that we would have to execute, very well in order to have a chance. And, again, they're a great defense. I get to give them all the credit. They just do the little things very well. I wish there was some special magic to it, but that's it.
But you know what, Coach? That's what it is, and I wish every athlete could hear that, because I know, like, we do jiu-jitsu, and when you talk about jiu-jitsu, you talk about wrestling. It's all about your technique over strength, and then when you watch any kind of athlete, on a pro level, and they're not faster, they're not bigger than everybody else, but yet nobody can stop them. It's because their technique is so fundamentally sound, and they're so good with it, and that's what separates it.
And again, that all plays into that mental aspect that we just spoke about earlier on in the show. It's such a mental game. That's what, people that don't quite understand the game of football or aren't as close to it, that is more important than the physical element all day, every day. We've got to have that. And again, something that we have to work on at Newark Catholic is the mental aspect of the game. Yes, we need to get bigger. We need to get stronger. We need to get faster. But the mental aspect, that mental toughness, that mental discipline, that's what we've got to get back.
And this may sound like I'm joking, but it's kind of not. But it doesn't hurt when you've had a coach at one spot for 43 years with the same exact system.
You get that consistency in there.
This is what they've done since, they started really being successful right around the turn of the 2000s. They've always been one of the more powerful teams in the country, or in the county. But, around the 2000s is when they really started to kick it up with, like, the state title appearances and stuff. And this is their MO. This is what they do. Not to say you wouldn't study tape, but I'm sure if you studied tape from this season or 2010 or 05 or 12, whatever, it's going to look pretty much the same.
No question. I guarantee it.
Coach, we saw Derek Hawk come back for a little bit, and then at halftime, pads were off, and then we all saw JT come off the field. Do you have any injury updates or any players in general that might be coming back or might be nicked up?
Yeah, but besides those two, which we'll find out a lot more on Monday, that's really it. There was nobody else that I'm aware of, unless something pops up on Monday that I didn't hear about. But hey, we're hoping the best for Derek. We're hoping the best for Julian. Those are two tremendous young men that we hope are able to play next week, and if not, it goes back to our conversation, just before this is, we've got to come up with solutions. That's it. We got to continue to move on and get these guys believing in the system and, get them to understand how important they are within that role.
Yeah. As much as I hate hearing it and I hate saying it, it's kind of that next man up mentality.
Oh, it definitely is. And, again, it's going to get guys competing. It's going to get, younger guys involved and get them some experience. And that's how you have to view it. You got to view it in a positive way and get those guys buying in.
Yeah. I've been in that position before where a starter ahead of me got hurt, and my mentality was, all right, this is my time to shine. And hopefully you guys see that from some of the younger kids. If they get a chance to get in there, they come in with that mentality of,
you're exactly right.
I want to show
that's
coach.
What you have to have.
Don't you think
it's my time?
Don't you think that's the difference between, like, the good teams, the great teams, or the okay teams, and then the bad teams is, when the guy goes down, is the kid a deer in the headlights, or is he like, man, this is my spot now, let's go?
Yeah. There's always that right. Good teams, there's always that underlying respect for one another. Not that you have to be best friends or anything like that, but there has to be a mutual respect among everybody. That's for sure. But the probably the most important quality, I think, on any successful team is that competitive nature. You have to want to compete on every single play, not just on Friday nights, but more importantly throughout practice, to push one another. If that's not happening consistently, you're going to have issues. And that's, that's something we've got to continue to work on and continue to encourage, is that competition throughout the course of the week to push one another, and better one another.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, week 9. This is the Bill Belichick portion of the show. We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Heath here. Final road game of the year. Heath's coming in at 3-5. Wins over Lakewood, LU. Have a common victory between you guys with Utica. They lost to Valley 50-6, and they lost last week 21-15. And they were actually up 15-6 at the half. Looks like they have a kid, Austin Morrow, quarterback. He's closing in on 1,000 yards, and then they got a wide receiver who's he's right behind Grant, looks like, with nearly 400 yards receiving. Are they a pretty balanced offense, or am I right to assume they like to chuck it around a little bit?
Yeah, they are fairly balanced. Again, they do some different formations to find some ways to get them in a position to be successful. Again, they'll come out in some 21 personnel type things. They come out in 10 personnel. They'll come out in empty. They come out a lot of different formations to distribute the ball, whether it be the run and or the pass.
So for their defense, do they do anything special on defense, or what kind of defense do they run?
Yeah, they're a 3-down defensive line. Based on whether it be a 2x2 or 3x1 set, they typically go 1 high versus 2 high there. They'll bring a little bit of pressure, but again, they keep you pretty off balance. They've got some pretty good players. Across the board, offensively and defensively. I think they do a great job. Talented kids, and it's going to be a fun game on Friday. Really looking forward to it.
So, Coach, final 2 weeks of the season, unfortunately, I think we can all agree at this point, kind of playoffs are out. Games that you guys will actually be favored in my opinion. It's weird to say you're 2-6, but you're favored in the next 2 games. But it's true. In the Licking County League's weird. After we get in with this question, we'll kind of take a quick run through that. But what will the underlying message be that you're going to be trying to drive home these final 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. After last week, after Valley, we've got to focus on us. Personally, I could care less, favored, not favored. That means nothing to me because the game hasn't been played, right? We've got to focus on our execution, our fundamentals, our techniques, our mental toughness, our mental focus. That's what we've really got to focus on and build off of. In what we didn't have the past 2 weeks, right? We've got to learn from that and what that gives us moving into those 2 weeks, going then into the off season, as crazy as that is to say. But we've got to focus on Heath and what they're doing, and most importantly, ourselves and how that applies to what they're doing, right? What we can control into their schemes, into what they're doing. But it all comes down to what our mental focus is, what our mindset is.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of made the comment there that the Licking County League's a little funky right now. I mean, it really is. You have Granville, Johnstown, Valley, Heights. Nobody's worse than 6-2. Nobody's worse than 4-1 in the league. And then you have this jumbled up thing of Watkins, Northridge, Heath, you guys, Utica, and Lakewood. It's just very, very top heavy right now. And, the league's going to be sorted out over the next couple of weeks as Granville and Johnstown, Valley, and Heights all kind of beat each other up a little bit. But I think that goes to show you, you get these 2 wins. You finish the season 4-6. You might be just outside of that top tier there. How big would that be for your team to get these final 2?
Yeah, it'd be huge. Heck, we got to get this one though. Heath is our number one focus. Again, they do a good job. They've put some things together at times that just is extremely impressive. Again, I know they haven't had the exact season that they've wanted, based off of wins and losses. But again, we've got to focus on this week. We are in no way in a position to look ahead to Northridge or even the postseason. These are just from that mental focus. It's just something we've got to emphasize now going into this week and then continue to build moving into our future.
No doubt. Well, Coach, I appreciate you just talking to us about the game. Real quick before we let you go, what happened to Penn? I got to know. You guys got beat first time in 7 years.
Unfortunately, they lost a tough one to our rivals in overtime. pretty crazy game. I don't remember. I want to say it was like 46-42 or something like that.
48-42 in overtime.
48-42, excuse me.
You kind of had a game to
in
coach. I'm
overtime,
all over it. Don't worry, I got it.
Yeah, I was trying to find out the score myself, after our game, listening to that rivalry. So, unfortunately, dropped one to our rival, but I guarantee, they'll pick it up next week and get after it to finish off the season going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And you have Corey's son on your team as an assistant coach. Do you talk to Coach Yeoman up there at all throughout the season?
Yeah. Every once in a while, we're able to touch base. I know he's just as busy, as I am. So try to respect one another's times in our preparation there. But every once in a while, we do touch base.
Do you ever have that moment where you can't get in touch with him, so you call up his son and you're just like, "Hey, give your dad a call."
Tell your dad to pick up the phone.
Naturally, him, being on staff and all my coaches do a great job. But it's always good to have that guy that you've been with. Again, Gary and I go back all the way through when he was at school. Him coming in from the same place, same high school. We've always had a great relationship, whether it be coach player and now coach to coach. But very fortunate to have him on staff and obviously his dad who was my coach as a mentor.
Yeah, we were actually working on something for you, but turned to find out Coach Giesman is calling games up there. He's on the radio, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
yes,
so I was actually going to pay to get Coach Giesman to come to senior night and surprise you.
That'd be a tough one, right?
Yeah,
there.
and then Gary told me that he's calling games. So I am gonna try to get
an incredible coach. I tell you, he's an unbelievable person. Just everything that he had accomplished, for Penn and just as a person, the impact that he's had on everybody he's coached, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I might have to work my in, that being you, and see if I can at least get him to call into the show at some point because he's definitely a legend in not only the South Bend area, but really, I mean, the Midwest, would you say, or even nationally, with as much success as he had as a head coach.
Oh yeah. He's definitely he's one of the best. Indiana high school Hall of Famer for sure. Just again, he's an unbelievable coach. Obviously, I'm biased because I had the privilege of playing underneath him, but just unbelievable coach.
Well, Coach, we're not doing 2 shows today. East of the Bend podcast is taking the week off, but with so much controversy and it was one of them chaos weekends in college football. Who in your opinion is the best team in college football right now?
Don't say it.
Oh, wow.
Don't say it.
Put me on the spot right away.
I know it.
Think of who's listening.
2, 6, 2, 6, 7, 8 all went down yesterday. 16, 21.
I would say the number one team. I mean, you can't take away anything from last year's national champion. In Alabama, they've done nothing to not be number one. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that talk about strength of schedule and all that other stuff, but they've shown no letdown. If anything, they seem to be getting better and better every single week. So, until they lose, I just don't see how you couldn't keep them number one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It is a strength of schedule kind of thing a little bit where that's your argument, but man, they're dominating these teams.
Yes.
It's not even close. So, I mean, that's the part where I'm just like, yeah, you kind of got to give it to them until they lose because you know, everybody. I mean, Ohio State, kind of struggled this and that with Minnesota. We kind of struggled with Pitt yesterday quite a bit, but it was like, Alabama's just knocking these teams off the field. I don't care if they're what division they are or whatnot, they're in the SEC. A lot of them are, but it's like they're just knocking them off the field. It's not even close, and no other teams can say they're doing that right now. So
yeah, I will say I'm looking forward to that Alabama LSU matchup. That'll be.
I hope to God LSU.
That'll be a pretty good.
Let's get them
good
out
atmosphere.
There. Because you and Will, you guys are Buckeye fans. It's whatever. Something happened to you in South Bend. I don't know if the water was bad. I don't know what happened up there. But we do have a common enemy at least. So there's that. So. But you like Bruno's, so there you go.
Yeah.
So, well, we appreciate your time again, Coach, and I'll be giving you a call on Wednesday if you're good with that, probably around 7:30 again. Okay.
Sounds great, guys.
All right.
Thanks again for everything that you do.
Thank you, sir. Have
Thank
a good
you,
one.
Coach.
All right, you too. Take care.
See you. All right, that does it for the Week 8 Ryan Aiello post-game show. I mean, Coach said it all. I mean, and then some, really. That's actually what makes him so good on this show is he talks.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we did have some Saban Belichick kind of thing? And
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Maybe I
Yeah.
can start fining them. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's work on that.
Yeah, let's work
Yeah.
on that. I want to do that because we need money. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We don't need it.
Yeah.
But we're willing to take it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say no.
Not going to say no. But yeah, I mean,
Or brownies.
yeah, brownies or cookies.
Egg rolls. I know. I heard something after the game about
I
egg
heard
rolls.
something about egg rolls. We
And
will work for food.
I love egg rolls. I know you love
I
egg
love
rolls.
egg rolls.
Brownies,
Thank you to
cookies.
Alex Lupton's mom. I don't know if she's on the Faceagram here or not, but hey, Angie Pierce, by the way.
I don't know, but somebody, just I don't
care who it
doesn't
is,
matter.
honestly.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank her for the cookies and brownies. But
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, they were.
And they weren't those small little brownies. They were like the gigantic. Oh man, they were
If
so
you
good.
want if you need a new screensaver on your phone, I wish I could have captured the picture of you getting out of your truck at the game, elbow deep in a box of Cheez-Its, and then she brought over the brownies and cookies. He was on them like a pack of dogs on a three-legged cat.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry Kirkpatrick. Hey, what's up, Jerry? He said, or he tagged Miss Lupton. So
Yeah.
and he put egg rolls.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh man.
So we also could do a food podcast too. So here we are.
I mean, we'll try just about anything.
We'll do
you
just
know?
about anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, you did take your pants off after the first call.
I had shorts
He
on.
had shorts on.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is what you get if you watch the East of the Bend podcast, to be honest with you. This is the kind of garbage you get.
Two
there.
bumbling idiots.
Two bumbling idiots with a microphone and one that claims to be a photographer, even though they love your photography.
Man, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I was using another camera to shoot the pictures, and I had the wrong picture profile set up, and I spent all day editing the photos. I apologize. They don't look bad, but
They still have that gray tint.
they kind of have a grayish tint to
Yeah.
them, and I just want the parents to know that I apologize, and I'll be better. I promise, I'll be better. So please forgive me ahead of time.
You're fired.
Yeah, please.
You know what's funny though? I just got to thinking, and I didn't throw it in because I wanted to let him go. He's given us over an hour this evening between the first call and the second call. We've done nearly between his show and the East of the Bend podcast and then the outdoor podcast. We've probably done 50 shows, and that's the first time that's ever happened. That's pretty good.
What?
That we've been cut off from anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody
yeah.
couldn't hear us. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
For two, as you said, bumbling idiots.
I know,
So
right?
That's not too bad.
I'm surprised we haven't got hung up on more often.
I am too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's something. I remember we had Chris Lee on from VandySports.com, and always if I have somebody on that does another podcast or whatever, I always listen to their shows. And one of the guys he had on, I think, was from Athlon and the big sports publishing enterprise, whatnot. And the guy was waiting on, I don't know what he was waiting on, but it was some service he was waiting on. It was cable or what. But right in the middle of the interview, you hear the doorbell ring in the background, and the guy had to go. I was like, hey, that hadn't happened to us yet. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good with a guest. But, back to North Catholic, it's been a rough season. This is not, when I started doing the podcast, I always said I'll be pretty brutally honest about certain things. At this point after week 1, I did not anticipate sitting here at 2-6.
I didn't either.
Just some tough breaks. It's going to be one of those seasons where you look back on what could have been, but I'll pump it up a little bit, and that's what we can do as what do we want to call us? Credentialed media.
Credentialed media. You keep using
I
that
use
term.
that. It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Being credentialed media per se.
Until somebody looks at us and they're like,
Get the hell
you
out
guys
of
are frauds.
Yeah, you guys are frauds. Get
Yeah.
out of here. We can look ahead and we can do stuff like that, and I think it would be huge to finish this season off with these 2 wins.
Yeah.
To get Heath, knock off Northridge, finish up 4-6, get in, because like I said, there actually is 3 tiers to the LCL right now, and this is my opinion, but you have those top 4 that are going to just beat the crap out of each other the next few weeks. And then I think Watkins and North Catholic, and I think the game reflected this, they're the same team. I mean, that's relatively the same team.
Yep.
It's actually a second-year coach, I believe, with Watkins. That's the same team right now.
Well, and if you look back at both of those games, man,
Yeah.
NC was winning.
Yeah,
They were winning
7-6 in
until
the fourth quarter.
Yeah, until the last couple minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just one play here, one play there. And Coach has talked about it, just not all the guys being on the same page, doing what they're supposed to be. And if they were, we're not talking about a 2-6 team.
No,
and I know we keep saying that, and you're probably like, yeah, I hear it, but that's what I see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be big to stay in that middle tier with Watkins, because in my opinion, there's the top four, then there's Watkins and North Catholic, and then you have that bottom tier of Northridge, Heath, Utica, and Lakewood. And with all due respect to all those guys, especially Utica, I love Charlie and everything he's done for us. In fact, next year, you mentioned something about a Hard Knocks type show maybe we could get into. I would love to cover both sides extensively for one game, and I think Charlie would let us do that. I think that.
Yeah, if one team plays on Friday and the other team plays on Saturday.
When they play each other.
Oh, when they play each other.
I'll go to one locker room, you go to the other or something. And
man, you ask me all the time, hey, you want to do any of these interviews? And I'm like, no, there is a reason why.
I'm not telling you to do the interview. I'm saying for filming purposes.
Oh.
Yeah, get a little more in depth, because we went after that one, and we went after covering both sides, and I don't think we really knew what we were doing. Like, I follow it when Utica runs out, I followed him like almost midfield. Then I took a shot of their stands and I just ran back.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. Like during that, I was getting into my zone of hitting the pictures and everything like that. And then you're like, oh yeah, here comes Utica, and I'm like, oh
yeah, it's tough. I mean, we're essentially a 2.5 person operation. Our third guy that I would say is full-ish time would be Mark Hissam, the founder of the Notre Dame Fan Club of Columbus, because of all the backing he's ever given us. And he did a great job, A, on Friday night, and B, he seemed like he was really in to continue to help us. He's got a lot going on, like we all do, but, Mark always has a place with this show, because honestly, and I don't have time to go through why, but on this, you can go back to the other episodes, listen to them all multiple times and find the reason. But there wouldn't be an East of the Bend podcast without Mark. So we really appreciate what he's done for the program, and what he's done in supporting us. And we are the East of the Bend podcast is the official podcast of the Notre Dame Club of Columbus, so it's a big deal for us to have that backing from Mark and be able to have Dempsey's carry right along with it as a sponsor. So Heath coming up this week. We're really looking forward to doing a show after a win. I tell you, those are a lot more fun. I will say that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And I think that'll be my other question for Coach, too. Again, I'll repeat that. Hey, am I more fun to talk to after a win? So from all of us here at East of the Bend, I think Mark actually may come out and help us again, either this Friday or senior night, or potentially both. He was up for it. So feel free to come up, say hi, introduce yourself, and give us any suggestions. We appreciate everybody that got to talk to Mark Hissam on Friday and treat him well. He's part of the group. So, until Friday night, we will see you then. It is a 7 o'clock kickoff, and, of course, we will be back next week, 2 shows next week. That is October 21st. It'll be 5 o'clock, the Ryan Aiello postgame show, and then we'll be back with the East of the Bend podcast at 6 o'clock right after that. So until then, go Wave. And don't forget the egg rolls.